This Proverbs 2, my assignment for today, invites us to pursue wisdom and with the same passion we'd use to search for hidden treasures. This morning, I'm going to spend a few moments talking about how this is God's gift of wisdom for us. God's gift. The chapter highlights how God's wisdom brings protection, how it guards us against dangerous influences, deceitful people, and moral traps. It helps us to understand and to recognize what is right and what keeps us on a steady path. It's more than just gaining some knowledge. It is to understand that this is life through God's perspective. And when we walk in this wisdom, we experience the safety, the discernment, and we live the life that honors God. Verses 1 through 5, Solomon is speaking to his son. He says, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, and if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, that you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. This fear is not just synonymous with being scared. This fear is to understand that we really don't have any other choice. We shouldn't have any other choice. We do, but we should not have any other choice but to trust and believe in God, because God will provide for us the protection that we need to get through life. We are to understand that this is not something that happens. It's something that we have to work for, however. First of all, we have to trust this. We have to believe in this. Then we have to accept it. Then we have to store it up within us. There are going to be some times when we're going to call out about it. And then there are going to be some times when we're going to cry out aloud about it. But we are to understand that we are to be in pursuit of this at all times, and that we are in a position to receive this at all times. And so, therefore, we have to make up our minds to be intentional about seeking this wisdom that God has a desire for us to have and for us to live a life that honors God. We drop down to verses 6 through 8. For the Lord gives wisdom from his mouth, and it comes knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in his blamelessness. Solomon again makes it clear that wisdom ultimately comes from God himself. The wisdom comes from God itself. Those of us who at this point in our lives can actually declare that we have a bunch of wisdom stored up, we have to recognize and give honor to the fact that this wisdom comes from God. This wisdom is not necessarily going to keep us or prevent us from facing hardships. However, this wisdom gives us the ability to live a level of integrity that very few can understand when it comes down to the fact that we are now blessed with God's wisdom. This wisdom is something that we are to not only benefit for ourselves, but to be a benefit to others. It is a living activity. It's not just something that's intellectual or something that we walk around and and like we got it all. No, we don't. It is something that we are to share. It is a gift to us and a gift and a benefit that we should use and share with others. We drop down to verses 12 through 15, and we can understand that wisdom will save us from the wicked ways of men and from those men whose words are perverse. And these wicked people delight in doing wrong and rejoice in the perverseness of their evil ways and doings. We know about this. We're living these times. Evil all around us. Evil, evil, evil. And we know at least one person on this planet who seems to be getting joy out of spreading deceit, being crooked, and all sorts of stuff that could essentially be dangerous to us. But God, who gives us this wisdom to recognize these people for what they are and what they do. And so, therefore, we are able to protect ourselves and others, our loved ones, from this. We can avoid the arguments that are being created and to recognize what the truth is, because we also can recognize what the light and the direction we're supposed to be going in. That is our pursuit of this wisdom for us to be a benefit to others. And then in Proverbs 2:16 and 19, to recognize that this wisdom will save us. And my brothers, my sisters, Solomon talks about the adulterous woman, the wayward woman, and the seductive words. But it could be men too, doing the same things. But wisdom can protect us from this. Wisdom can get us to recognize and to understand that flattery ought not get them any place with us. That we ought to be able to recognize and to identify what's coming from their hearts and even what's on their mind at times, what's really going on and how they think and how they feel about us. We likewise ought to be wise enough to avoid putting ourselves in those positions, to stay away from those individuals, because it will indeed affect us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And we do not want nor do we need that in our lives. So, therefore, those who are married or plan to get married, we must recognize how we need to be diligent and intentional about how we spend our time, how we communicate, and how we definitely stay on the right path in terms of developing our spiritual connectedness. And if you're single, likewise, to recognize that you got to forge friendships with individuals who are like minded, like kinded, and do not allow that thought of loneliness to become a trap. Wisdom is there to protect us from the temptations, and it strengthens us to pursue what's healthy and honoring God. Then the path of righteousness, verses 20 and 22. Thus you will walk in the ways of good and keep to the paths of righteousness. For the upright will live in the land, and blameless will remain in it, but the wicked will be cut off from the land. Solomon wants us to understand that in the long term, this walk, and is indeed a walk in the wisdom, is definitely going to be faced with the dangers like evil people and sexual temptations. And there's a bigger picture, however, that this walk is definitely, this wisdom is definitely the directions that we need to adhere to in order for us to